Alright, good morning everybody. My name is Jonathan Rada, and let me start off by saying that as a college student, I am no stranger to debt. I own 3 credit cards, each of which has $300 credit limit on it. So, that's about $900 that I could be in debt for. Just recently, I maxed out 2 of those. So that's $600 out of a possible almost $1,000 I could be in debt. Now, I could just continue doing what I'm doing the spending habits that I have, and simply just take out the 3rd credit card and keep spending. Or I can be more responsible and pay off that debt so I have more money in my pocket in the long run. I did this by 2 methods. I did this by reducing the amount I spent by simply taking the cards out of my wallet and stashing them away somewhere so I don't get tempted to use them. The other method was simply paying more than the minimum payment, much more, because if you just pay the minimum payment, you end up paying more than the amount borrowed because of interest rates. So in the last couple months, I paid off my credit cards, and I'm debt-free right now, and it's a good feeling. So, I mean, if only we can just have that same mindset that I have, and the Republicans and Democrats are just keep clashing and debating over what to do about this fiscal cliff, I have an idea. How about we just do nothing? In this speech, I will argue that going over the fiscal cliff, we should go over this fiscal cliff. First, I will argue that the debt crisis is at an all-time high and will cause economic destruction. Second, I will argue that the fiscal cliff will save us from this debt crisis. And lastly, I will argue that the defense cuts being made will not devastate the United States military. So what's the problem? What's the problem with all this debt? It's at an all-time high that it's ever been in history. As of September 2012, the debt has surpassed the $16 trillion mark. And that's about $50,000 for every man, woman, and child in the United States. And accompanied with all this, what does that mean for us? It basically means it'll drive up interest rates on the federal level. And if interest rates go up on the federal level, it will trickle down to our level, the consumer level. That would mean higher interest rates for mortgages for those who wants to buy a house. It will increase the interest rates for those for car loans, for those trying to buy cars. It'll increase the interest rates for credit cards and student loans. So on top of all of that, with increased credit rates, if we keep rising this debt ceiling, that would mean more money of our government's budget will go into paying just that payment interest. And that will leave less money for more economically stimulating jobs, such as building roads and providing tax incentives for small businesses. So, so now that I talked to you guys about the problem, what do we do about this? What do we do about this debt crisis? Well, the answer is right in front of your face. It's this thing called the fiscal cliff that you guys are so desperately trying to avoid. The fiscal cliff marks the end of Bush tax cuts and marks the beginning of spending cuts made all across the board beginning of 2013. And with this, the fiscal cliff will significantly reduce the United States deficit and provides a greater outlook for the economy down the road. The tax increases are not increased at all. I mean, relatively speaking, it'll only go up 2%, and we're simply going back to the tax brackets that were in 1990, back when Clinton was president. And so this fiscal cliff, we shouldn't be afraid of this. We should be embracing it. We should the lawmakers who put these into law should embrace the fact that the laws that they voted for, and so we can hurry up and solve this debt crisis. Now, most of you believe that if we go over this fiscal cliff, it'll devastate the United States military, and you guys also believe that if we go over this fiscal cliff, that we will put 300,000 troops. We will cut out military personnel by 300,000 troops. You guys also believe that we will have drop our troop size down back to when it was the 1940s, and that was very tempting for Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan, and it's what led us to World War II. I'm going to tell you guys that you guys are wrong. We are simply reverting back to the budget during the 1990s, back when Clinton was president. And that's not so bad since we're winding down our involvement in the Middle East. It's not such a big problem. And accompanied with all this, our budget still surpasses that of any other country in the world. So we are still a military powerhouse when it comes to our budget. And going over this fiscal cliff will not devastate the military at all. We will simply going back to before Bush took office. So the real issue here is tiny recession now or apocalyptic depression later on down the road. In the speech, I have argued that we should just hurry up and just jump over this fiscal cliff. First, I argued that this debt crisis is at an all-time high and will cause economic disaster. Second, I argued that this fiscal cliff will save us and finally put us in a position of economic stability. Lastly, I argued that the defense cuts being made will not jeopardize the United States military. So I'd like to conclude this by saying we all deserve the great feeling of being debt-free, and we should take responsibility for the money that we spent in these last couple of presidential terms. Thank you.